Dan George with Ben Shalom. Ben, brilliant night of boxing. Just sum up for me some of the main kind of takeaways for you after that night.
Well, first of all, the local lads, Frankie Stringer and Mikey Talon, thought did really well. Always good to see new, young talent coming through and fight in front of their home fans. There's nothing really quite like it. Vidal Riley, to see him back was a relief, was special, and to see him moving properly and to see him give away a lot of weight and still be able to finish like that was special. Sets up a huge fight with Isaac Chamberlain. Mark Jeffers, the most avoided man in the super middleweight division. A lot of people believe he's the best in the country. I believe he's world level. He's got some huge nights to come. Lauren Price was scary, and I think she sent out a big message to everyone, not just in the welterweight division, but across women's boxing and boxing. You know, it doesn't matter the level. To be clinical and to be able to finish like that is a special skill. And we often criticise women's boxing for not having those clinical finishers. That was good. That was special. McKenna Cutler was the fight in the night. Both fighting for their careers. Lee, wow. You know, Stevie is a very, very intense guy and a fight that people don't want. And Lee took this and he lost against Brad Ray in the first round, and it showed how cruel boxing can be. He's had to work his way back. It's been a horrible year for him. He's not been able to get the opportunities with Josh Pritchard as well. It's a Cinderella story. It really is, and he deserves it. And I know he's under so much pressure, but for me, that's what British boxing is about. You know, it's okay having the world title fights. These guys have secured their lives, millions on the line, etc., etc. When you've got two guys that are literally fighting for their careers, when you've got a guy like Lee Cutler who knows that a loss, it's a very long way round back, and it's not just elation he's feeling tonight. It's relief that all that work was worth it. All those moments of sacrifice when you didn't think that it would ever come was worth it, and that's a special feeling, and really delighted for him. Really showed a lot of punishment and took a lot of punishment, but also showed what a great fighter he is. And confidence is so key to a fighter. It's so hard to be confident when you're not active. It's so hard to be confident when you've not got people behind you. And you saw his confidence grow as the fight went on, and now that he's confident, now that he has the win behind him, I think he can do really well. But yeah, credit to both guys, because Stevie came off the canvas twice, and it was a possible fight of the year.
And the main event as well, Natasha Jonas, showing a class, I thought, against her opponent.
A very, very classy performance, as you said. And Ivana Habazan, trained over here, upset, frustrated, angry, world champion, coming off the best performances of her career to date. I thought she was going to pose a huge amount of problems. Natasha just seemed to get better and rolled back the years and was almost better than she was against Maya, and more controlled. And yeah, it was a great performance. I'm so happy for her that she got another moment in front of her fans in Liverpool. It was a very special night, and she still feels like she's getting better, which means there's a huge 2025 to come, and obviously people know the fight that's possibly going to be announced. And it's good for women's boxing, because we need the big names. We need the big names getting in with the other big names. We need the big fights. And great night.
If the appetite wasn't wet enough for that, Price Jonas fight, the little kind of scuffle in the ring after, just kind of added to that, didn't it? It was it a bit out of character, do you think, for the two of them?
I didn't know where to look, to be honest. I know both of them well, obviously very well, and it's hard. It's been hard for me, this one, because the broadcaster and everyone wants to unify the division, and you've got the job of trying to unify it, and there's egos, and I think it's obvious, and it's hard, and all you can do is try and give everyone the best opportunity that they can, whether that's Ivana, whether that's Natasha, whether that's Lauren, and make sure that if you keep winning, you get those opportunities. And yeah, it's an awkward one for me, but it's a massive fight, and ultimately that's what boxing's about. It's about the best fighting the best, and obviously the personal stuff between them it just makes for a bigger fight.
Locally for us as well, Lee Cutler, that fight, you touched on it. I think a career best performance for Lee. Showed some class and showed what that year in the McGuigan gym has really done for him. He also just said to me afterwards that he now feels part of the gym. He feels like he's proved himself to that kind of world-class environment. Did you feel that kind of... Did you sense that he was under that kind of pressure to prove himself to those guys?
Absolutely. Imagine going into that gym with Chris Billam-Smith, world champion, Caroline Dubois, who is potentially the best female fighter coming through in the world, Adam Azim, and then the McGuigans, who train world champions, build world champions. The pressure, the almost maybe embarrassment at times for him, which, you know, as a fighter isn't, but that shows the humility that he had and the willingness to put himself in that environment. Most fighters like comfort zones. I've seen it so many times. They'll stay with a trainer, stay in a gym that they like, stay somewhere close to home, and almost hide. He's put himself right out there. And as I said, the word for me is, yes, elation, but it's relief. Relief that he's proven that he was good enough, relief that he's proven that the sacrifice was worth it, relief that, as you said, he feels part of the gym. And it was emotional seeing him tonight overcome such a hard fighter as well and such a hard night's work. And it was almost like the story of his career where, you know, it started off difficult. He did get the knockdown, but he was way down on the scorecards for me. And then he grew in confidence, and he had a fantastic finish to the fight. And great fight. Gutted for Stevie, because he's another great lad who gives it every single time, and he'll be back. But for Lee, you know, it's almost like Chris Billam-Smith all over again in a way, because, you know, Chris, I've seen him that many times fight through just sheer determination and hard work through fights, and Lee Cutler did that tonight.
And then he ruined it all by doing the worm in the middle of the ring. I don't know what that was about. I'm going to have to ask you, because he did say to us before that out in Saudi Arabia, you, quote-unquote, promised him that if he comes through this fight, then he can go back down to Bournemouth and you'd headline with him. Is that still the plan? Is that something that will happen?
I'm going to have to deliver on that promise. I want to go back to Bournemouth. I love Bournemouth. It's a special place where they get behind their own. I've seen it firsthand with Chris Billam-Smith and the monster that we created. Whether we go back with him and Chris, but maybe Lee deserves his time as well. So we'll definitely do it. Not sure when yet, but he deserves it. And fingers crossed. If he can do 40% of what Chris has done, he'll have a fantastic career.
We've seen that Queensberry announced today they're doing a card down there. Do you feel like you've kick-started something? You've awoken a beast in the south, the boxing fans down there?
I hope so. I'm glad that they're going there. I think it's they'll enjoy it. It's a great town, great people, great supporters, love their boxing, and that Bournemouth International Centre creates one hell of an atmosphere. Good to see.
And finally, the last time we spoke was out in Saudi Arabia just after Chris Billam-Smith's defeat to Zurdo Ramirez. We've seen Chris here tonight. He seems,
remarkably well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I don't recognise you. Saw him after the fight and he was all, bruised, battered, but...
Mummified.
Correct. And he's here jumping up and down in Lee Cutler's corner, in and out, and seemingly ready to go again, which is a little bit scary, given for both of those guys, given what a ridiculously grueling fight that was. But he's cleared up well, and there's some big nights for him as well in the first half of the year. I'm not early on. Even if he wants to, I'm going to say no. I think at least May. But he'll be back, and he's a big name now, and he'll get more world title opportunities, I believe.
And when we went to speak to him, he said that the route now he still wants to be, he wants to be two-time world champion. The WBC title is probably the most likely route. He was out in Germany at the convention. Do you think that's something that you'll be able to hopefully make for him, build him up to that pathway to become two-time world champion?
I believe so. I think he has the resilience, the determination, and he's still growing to do that. For me, the pressure's off him now. He's achieved everything that anyone can dream of. You know, did he ever think he'd achieve all these things? Now, it's the big names, it's the big nights, and that's what I'd be targeting. You've done the titles, you've done this, you've done that. Yes, WBC title would always be special, but for me, it's the big names. Have fun with your career now, as much as you can in boxing. You know, the pressure's off. You're gonna go down in the history books for what you've achieved. So hopefully now he can have some real fun fights.